Welcome back. You're watching To The Point. This morning, the government announced the award of the Bharat Ratna to Atal Bihari Vajpayee and Madan Mohan Malaviya. Whilst few could question the award to Mr. Vajpayee, is it fitting to give it to someone who's been dead for 68 years? And what about people like Field Marshal Manekshaw and the Dalai Lama, who many consider more deserving than most of the politicians who have so far been honoured? Finally, do we need to change the way this award is conferred? My guests are former Army Chief General Shankar Roy Chaudhary, the former Governor of West Bengal Gopal Krishan Gandhi, the well-known Kashmiri academic and former Vice-Chancellor Siddique Wahid, and BJP spokesperson Sambit Patra. Sambit Patra, the government has awarded the Bharat Ratna to Atal Bihari Vajpayee, and that decision has been received with almost unanimous applause across the political spectrum. I doubt if there are many who actually would disagree. But are you sad that it had to be a BJP government that gave him the award and that it didn't happen earlier?
Karan, I would have been happy, well, yes, if Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee would have got the award well before today. I mean, if I remember rightly, it was in 2008 that Mr. L.K. Advani had written to Prime Minister Manmohan Singh then that please confer the award to Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji. But it was not heeded. Anyways, but I believe today is a day when I should not be politicizing this issue. I would say that even today I am happy that finally Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji has got what he deserved.
Professor White, on the other hand, the government has also decided to give the Bharat Ratna to Madan Mohan Malaviya. Now, that was a man who died in 1946. So not only has the award been given to someone who died 68 years ago, but it's the first time it's been given to someone who died before independence. Is it fitting that the Bharat Ratna should be given to someone who died 7 decades ago?
Well, I must plead ignorance to how the award is given and what are the specifics of the given. But it does seem...
As far as I know, just to interrupt, it's a decision that is the prerogative of the Prime Minister, and maybe he consults some of his ministers, but he doesn't need to actually go through an official committee at all.
Well, that then to me seems very strange. And I think that then obviously the process for it, slightly off your question, but process for the selection of people who would receive it has to be changed and somehow made more inclusive, number one. Number two is that I think awards like these in many ways entail a sense of generosity on the part of people who give it, on the part of people who receive it, I mean if they're alive, and on the part of people like us, who sort of witness the giving. So I think that it is, but 7 decades later, to award someone, then, I think it speaks a lot about the others who may have been there in the 7 decades. And what do we do about those?
So you think that a posthumous award that is 7 decades old is a little meaningless?
Well, I wouldn't say meaningless, but I think that it would be exclusive in the sense that there must be many others in between who we can think of.
Why not go further back in time all the way to Ashok?
Absolutely, yes.
General Shankar Roy Chaudhary, let's come to some people who have been overlooked. In the 60 years since the Bharat Ratna was first awarded in 1954, it's gone to 45 people, including Atal Bihari Vajpayee and Madan Mohan Malaviya. Most of them have been politicians, but not one of them has been from the defense services. Would you, as a former army chief, believe that Field Marshal Manekshaw, the victor of the Bangladesh war, should have got the award and should have got it several decades ago?
I believe very strongly that he should have. And indeed, it is very, very demoralizing for the nation. It speaks of a lack of self-respect to see a nation that does not honor its warriors. And not only Field Marshal Manekshaw, we've got 2 field marshals, we've got a marshal of the Air Force, and others. These are our warriors. They've held the country together. And I think the nation must show its gratitude by conferring on some of them the highest award that the nation can make. Yes, I do feel Field Marshal Manekshaw should have got it for a long time for the achievement of Bangladesh. And I would also think that we've got the other field marshals also and the Marshal of the Air Force who have been given these ranks because they have achieved something of a very, very high level. The government and the people in power and I agree with the gentleman, the panelist who spoke just in front of me. There should be some kind of a panel.
Okay.
There should be some kind of a panel, and we should be considering these people very seriously.
Mr. Gandhi, someone else who richly deserves the Bharat Ratna but has also been repeatedly overlooked is the Dalai Lama. Recently, you wrote an article in the Telegraph where you strongly advocated to the government that the time had come to recognize the Dalai Lama and confer the Bharat Ratna on him. That hasn't happened. Are you simply disappointed, or are you more than that? Are you also upset?
I wouldn't know whether I am upset, but I am surprised and deeply disappointed that successive governments have overlooked the opportunity to honor the Dalai Lama with the highest civilian award. We have given the Bharat Ratna to 3 other persons who were technically not Indian born. Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa, and Badshah Khan, though he was born in what was undivided India. Having those wonderful precedents, it only follows that the Dalai Lama, who has been a resident of India, an honored guest of India, who has got the Nobel Peace Prize, and who is dearly loved by all sections of the communities of India, should not get the Bharat Ratna. I can only see the China factor as a reason for this. And I think it is extraordinary that we should be afraid of what some other country might think about honoring a person who has virtually been a resident of India, short of being a citizen of India.
You wanted to come at that point?
Yes, I also, and I would like to pitch for the Dalai Lama as well over here, because His Holiness is one person who has kept alive the flame of Buddhism, a religion that was founded in India. I mean, and I think that that is yet another reason for this.
Sambit Patra, how do you explain the fact that the government has not just failed, I'll go stronger, the government has virtually refused to confer the Bharat Ratna either on Field Marshal Manekshaw or on the Dalai Lama? And these were advocacies in the press in the last 4-6 months. So the government was petitioned by correspondents, by journalists, by Mr. Gandhi in particular. Why is the government not just failing but refusing to hear the demand of the people of India to honor people like Manekshaw and the Dalai Lama?
Karan, there is no denying the fact that both Mr. Field Marshal Manekshaw and Dalai Lama, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, are the recipients, in fact, of the highest order, that is a faith of humankind. We all have the utmost faith on these people, and they should get the Bharat Ratna award. There is no denying to this fact. But then we have just come to power. Who knows? Every year people would be awarded. Let us wait. Patiently let us wait. Rather than stating statements as the government has failed on these counts, definitely people who deserve will get. But such is the mundane world that even people's talent is dragged into awards. I believe Gandhi may not have got the Nobel Prize, but that does not belittle Gandhi's importance as far as peace is concerned anywhere in any corner of this whole world. Similarly, Dalai Lama may not have got the Bharat Ratna, but then he is the Ratna of crores and crores of people across the world. I believe it is belittling the image of these great people if we just compare them with Bharat Ratnas.
Oh, hang on a second. When Atal Bihari Vajpayee didn't get the Bharat Ratna, you were furious as a party, and it didn't occur to you then that you were belittling the image of Mr. Vajpayee by pointing out he hasn't got the Bharat Ratna. What a convenient it is that
Karan,
now you make the opposite argument in this case. You're a clever politician, I'll grant you that.
Karan, if you remember in my opening statement itself, I said, I'm happy today that he has got it. And I would not politicize the whole issue, even if we had requested way back in 2008 and he may not have got it. But that is not important. Right. Vajpayee would be Vajpayee with or without Bharat Ratna.
Okay.
The only issue is we are mundane people asking for mundane awards. But people who are elevated spiritually would realize to this fact, and I know most of the other panelists are elevated people. I am the only one who is in the
Let's bring in the other panelists. You're hearing General Shankar Roy Chaudhary, two explanations from Sambit Patra. One, that we are mundane people behaving in a mundane way, wanting awards for great people like Field Marshal Manekshaw or the Dalai Lama who are above them. Therefore, if they don't get it, it doesn't matter.
No, he deserves it. He deserves it. He will get it.
This is not to you now. This is to General Roy Chaudhary. And the second explanation that he gave was that the government has only just come into being. Give it more time. People will be recognized eventually. But Field Marshal Manekshaw has been waiting since 1971. Are you convinced by those answers from Sambit Patra?
Well, I take the second part of Sambit Patra's answer. Yes, the government has just come into office. Give them time. I think they will do the right thing. I think so. But then Field Marshal Manekshaw, specifically talking about him, he has not been given the Bharat Ratna because he was not liked by the establishment. It's as simple as that. So I think let this government settle in, and I think what Mr. Patra is saying is possibly we should, go along with that. And we would like our soldiers to be honored. They are our soldiers. They defend us. They should be honored. We've got field marshals. We've got marshals of the Air Force. I don't know if the Navy's got one. I don't think they've got one.
No, they haven't.
But
There's
we've got
no
another
five-star
tremendous
officer in the
chap,
Navy.
Mr. Rustamji, the founder of the BSF. He should be considered for this.
Okay. Let me bring in
Yes.
Mr. Gandhi. Mr. Gandhi, you're hearing a plea from Sambit Patra on two grounds. One, give the government time. It's a new government. And secondly, let's not reduce this to a mundane issue. Some of the people are talking about are much bigger than the Bharat Ratna. But as I pointed out, when Mr. Vajpayee wasn't getting the Bharat Ratna for 10 years, that was not an elevated philosophical attitude that the BJP took at that time. They were furious and they let their anger show. So are you convinced by Sambit Patra's arguments?
I believe posthumous awards are wrong. They do not serve the purpose of honoring those persons. They do not expect awards not being alive. They do not stand in need of awards because they belonged to an earlier generation. The opening of the posthumous file, so to say, is opening a Pandora's box for sectarian, political and group demands and lobbyings, which are the worst possible things that can happen in the matter of national decorations. And I would also like to say that...
Can I ask you a blunt question?
Yes, yes.
I've heard what you said about how
Please.
posthumous awards opened the door to sectarian decisions and sectarian interpretations. Now, Madan Mohan Malaviya clearly got the award, A, because of his association with Banaras Hindu University, and possibly B, because of his association with Varanasi, the Prime Minister's constituency. And that's despite the fact that he was, at least for several years, president of the Hindu Mahasabha and chaired several of the Hindu Mahasabha special sessions. If he can get it, then should it not also go, in all fairness, to Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, who founded Aligarh Muslim University, which is an equally iconic institution? Mr. Gandhi.
I am glad you have asked this question, Karan. It is a blunt question. It's a very necessary question. I believe every posthumous award is the result of a feeling of inadequacy, insecurity on the part of those who are giving the award. They want to placate a certain group of people or a certain body of opinion and win their accolades and perhaps even their votes. The people who have got posthumous awards, barring a very few exceptions, like the first posthumous award, which was given to Lal Bahadur Shastri, the President Radhakrishnan, immediately after the Tashkent award, after the Tashkent Pact, and just before he was about to return, this decision had been taken, but Shastriji died. And Radhakrishnan said, I was to have given it to him when he came back, but I have to now give it to him posthumously. Now that was a very different set of circumstances. Nobody was going to be pleased except the country. But subsequently, the majority of posthumous awards have been given to placate sections of public opinion. And I think that is a very unfortunate thing. I do not want to comment on Madan Mohan Malaviya, who was a great individual. But you have already told us some of the affiliations which he had. And those can create counter demands. And then we have a posthumous battlefield in which the Bharat Ratna becomes a trophy.
Except that, Professor White, it's not just posthumous awards that are questionable. If you look at the 45 people who've got the award, at least 27 by a rough count are politicians. There's been only one industrialist, one film director, one sports person, maybe 5 people connected altogether in different ways with the world of music, and another 6 connected in some way to academics. Don't you get the feeling this award is heavily skewed in favor of politicians?
Certainly. I mean, I didn't know those numbers, but it definitely proves that it is skewed. It's also, I think, belittles the award, talking about belittling the award, by sort of, being less than impartial. I mean, and actually being very partial. And I don't know, I don't know the 27 names amongst the politicians, but I'd be willing to wager that, it represents the government in power.
It always represents, in fact, the affiliates or associates of the government in power. They always give it to their own predecessors, never to their opponents, which is why Manmohan Singh never gave it to Vajpayee.
And I just want to make one more point regarding the mundaneness of the award. What could be more mundane than giving an award posthumously to somebody who's left for eternity?
Absolutely. Let me bring you in at that point, General Roy Chaudhary. You were saying a moment ago that we need a new system for giving the award, that it ought not to be left to the discretion of the Prime Minister of the day or perhaps even his cabinet. Do you think, therefore, we need a proper committee, independent of politicians, that we can all look up to and whose decision would be A, non-controversial, and B, above politics?
I'll come back to your question in a minute, Karan. I will like to, in the context of Banaras Hindu University and Pandit Madan Mohan Malaviya, I think we are honoring him for founding a great institution of India. And I think I fully agree with what you just now said. I do think that in this context, the founder of Aligarh Muslim University, which is an equally prestigious university, I think he should get also the Bharat Ratna. That's my view. Now, to come back to your question, sorry, would you mind repeating that?
Yes, basically, do we need an elevated committee above politicians to make the decision so that A, it's not vitiated by political concerns, and B, it's not controversial?
Karan, we certainly do. But I have a feeling, I fear that super elevated committee of people whose integrity is above doubt, after a while will get politicized itself. Yes, we do need a committee. How do we keep it above politics is a question we have yet to find an answer for.
Sambit Patra, the feeling in the discussion today, said by General Roy Chaudhary, said by Professor Wahid, is that in fact the whole system by which Bharat Ratnas are awarded needs to be reconsidered. I know you can't speak on behalf of the government, but can you communicate to your party and through your party to the government that there's a general concern that the Bharat Ratna mustn't be left to the discretion of the Prime Minister of the day? It's far too important an award to become the personal prerogative of an individual. It should be decided, therefore, by a committee elevated and free of political concerns. Will you communicate that sense to them?
No, I'm happy that you have made this point, and I would say this was a long-awaited debate. This debate should have taken place way back in 1955 when Nehru, in fact, appointed himself for the Bharat Ratna, and Indira Gandhi appointed herself for the Bharat Ratna, and 3 people from the same family get Bharat Ratna. I mean,
Sambit Patra, let's not politicize the question. I asked you a simple
asked
one.
Me a political
Answer
question.
the question I'm giving you, please, because we're running out of time. Will you communicate to your party that there's a sense of concern about the way the Ratna is awarded and it needs to be rethought out?
I would say this question is asked as if we are running out of time. This was not asked when Nehru and Indira Gandhi were appointing themselves. Well, yes,
we weren't around when Nehru and Indira Gandhi were appointing themselves. In case you haven't noticed, to the point is taking place in 2014. The Indira Gandhi Award happened in 1971, and that was a long time ago. Mr. Gandhi, I'm going to give you the last word, but you have to speak in 30 seconds, sir. Do you agree with the sentiment that for the sanctity of the award to remain above politics, we need a new system of awarding it, and it mustn't be left to the personal prerogative of the Prime Minister of the day? A quick answer, sir.
We are talking only about the Bharat Ratna today, right? I think as far as the Bharat Ratna is concerned, the present practice of the decision-making process being confined to the President and the Prime Minister should be retained. Because a committee is, after all, a committee of certain individuals, all of who are open to several political pressures and other pressures. But the President and the Prime Minister must decide the Bharat Ratna together. But that is not enough. They must decide the Bharat Ratna with complete objectivity and frankness, not with a desire to please anybody.
I'm going to have to stop you there. The critical words are they must decide with complete objectivity and frankness. And clearly, everyone feels that often The award has been decided without that objectivity, without that frankness, and unfortunately with a lot of partisanship instead. My thanks to all four of my guests for joining me. There we end this particular episode, and there also this program takes a break. I'll be back on the 5th of January, but till then, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and if you want, Happy Good Governance Day as well.